Hello, hello, hello! As I'm sure all of you all know, the previous Garden Warfare games didn't have the ability to sprint. You were forced to walk around painfully like you were stuck on a sidewalk behind people that are just oblivious to everything going on around them and won't make room for you to get past them. With Battle for Neighborville, however, there's new technology that Dave and Dr. Zomboss have created that allows all of these fun heroes to sprint around. They can move quicker. They can do what they need to do quicker. Crazy that it took them so long to figure out that technology. So what I've decided we're going to do is we're going to make a tier list for the sprinting animations in Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville. Now this is going to be based off of almost purely the animation, not going to be focusing on the sound or any of that sort of thing. There are a lot of neat animations in this game and I want to talk about them. Now before I get into the tier list and start ranking them, I want it to be known that my opinion is objectively correct. It's not actually an opinion, it is fact. So you might be tempted to debate me down in the comments. Please do. Please comment your tier list. But I'm objectively right, that's that. So first up we have little Acorn buddy over here. And I'm going to throw him into the A tier, I think. He's a little Beyblade. Beyblade, let it rip. Is what he is. Whenever he's spinning, he just spins and spins and spins. It's actually pretty mesmerizing to watch. Also slightly nauseating, but mostly enjoyable to watch. With certain skins, I'd probably give him an S tier, but just based off of the default skin and default animation set, he's going to be an A tier. I think that's fair. I don't think that's doing him any disservice. It's still good. Still a little top, you know? He's looking good. Next up we have 80s action hero, which you're boring, buddy. You're really boring. There's nothing special about his animation. He throws his bow on his shoulder and starts sprinting. He's like a person, which I guess technically he is one of the most lifelike characters in the game. I would expect someone that's known as an 80s action hero, you know, the 80s and action films, like I would expect him to have a little pizzazz in his movements, but nope, he just throws his bow blaster on his shoulder and takes off down the road. Boring. Now we also have All-Star up next, and he's also going to go to C tier, I think. He's close to honestly being put your back into it tier because there's literally nothing special about him. I mean, he does have to put his back into it to carry that giant football cannon around, which, if we're going literally, he should probably be in the put your back into it category because that bad boy is heavy. Other than that, he's just straight boring. Like, there's nothing interesting. He's like, oh, I'm a football player. Let me run around like a normal bipedal man. You know? Next, boring. Next up, we have old Super Brainz, and I'm throwing him in A tier. Now this man is fun. This is in theme for Super Brainz as a hero, as a character, and his little wind up before he gets running, his da-da-da-da animation is, it's beautiful. It's like he's kind of running in place very briefly and then sticks his arms out and goes. It's like he went to superhero running school and aced the class. Like if you're a kid and you're running around like a superhero, you do what Super Brainz does. He's got his nice cape flowing in the wind. He's close to being S tier in my mind, but I'll keep him down low. You know, there's no saying it's not subject to change, but I don't think he's quite the top of the top. Next up is old girl Cactus, who is also A tier. Now, I personally love her animation. She's like running away, terrified, scared, and you know, it's probably because she is scared. She probably is terrified because any zombie that gets up close to her is gonna murk her. Like she's gonna go, ah, and they're gonna go bang, bang, bang. And that's it for Cactus. Now, I love the animation, but there are a few things about her that just really, really throw me off. First off, the little feet that pop out whenever she starts running. Like, I know you can see them a little bit whenever she's just walking, but those, oh, they freak me out. Super weird, super minor, I know, but it bothers me. They're these little stubs just pittering-pattering down on the ground. I don't know how they support her body weight either. That's a different discussion. And her little arms, which they're obviously appropriate for her because she's a cactus and that's how cactuses look. They throw me off because they're not symmetrical. I like symmetry, and she's just not symmetrical. So despite me loving her run, she's A tier, not S tier. We have our first S tier girl up on the list, the Space Cadet. This is what an S tier animation looks like. She's having fun. She's halfway out of her spaceship, just partying. She's waving around like a wacky, waving, inflatable arm tube man, or whatever they're called.
Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man.
She just is having a fun time, and she's just swaying back and forth. She's loving her life. That says a lot, you know? That's pretty important. And she also looks like she's coming to give you a big ol' hug, because she's like, oh, yay, 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 yay. And me personally, I love big ol' hugs. I love it. She's right up my alley. Oh boy, Chomper. C tier. He's boring. You want to see something that's boring? Go watch Chomper sprint around. Now, I would expect a little more from Chomper because his skins and character costumes are so fun. He's got like clown poofs and dirt mohawks, grass mohawks, I guess. But nope, his sprinting animation is, it doesn't really show who Chomper is. I have to classify him the same as All-Star, honestly. There's just no pizzazz or no fun or anything about him. It's just, let me get from point A to point B. Yay, we made it. Boring. Now, Citron, I guess I would probably put him in A tier, B tier, probably A tier. But the thing is does his animation even count? Like, he's not really sprinting at all. He just rolls around. He just rolls himself up into a ball and uses his peel as like a shell so that he can spin around. I think it's hilarious, and that's why I'm leaning towards putting him here in A, but it's like he just, it's a very odd situation. He also gets bonus points, however, because if I could roll myself up in a ball like that to travel around, I definitely would, but I can't, and that makes me sad. So thank you, Citron, for making my heart break. Now, we have the best running animation in the game.
Why are you running?
Colonel Corn. He almost deserves his own tier, honestly, because he's that great. He's the best, point blank, period. He runs like he's getting chased by an entire mob of zombies. He's like Space Cadet in that he has properties of a wacky, wavy, inflatable arm tube man, which is just, he's like, ah! Anytime I see a Colonel Corn sprinting around, I just laugh. It's hilarious every single time. It's like, you would think I have like 100 hours in the game, but every time I see Colonel Corn running, I'm just laughing. It's hilarious to me. Another benefit that he has going for him, because him and Cactus sort of have the same running away and paralyzing fear run, but he's symmetrical. His left and his right sides are the same. That adds bonus points. So that's my vote for the best running animation in the game. Oh boy, look at who we have here. Mr. Thickums. That should be the engineer's real name, is Thickums. He should not be the engineer class, he should be the Thickums class, because that boy is thick with 3 C's. With that being said, his sprinting, that's in quotes, sprinting animation, gives us a full view of his moon pie, which, you know, depending on which way you swing, that could be a, oh boy. Plus, the fact that he was able to figure out how to ride a jackhammer like that without shaking his insides out is pretty daggone impressive. I'd consider it a miracle. It's either it's a miracle or the zombies have let us on and aren't as dumb as they want us to think they are. You know, who really knows the truth behind that? Plus, something that the engineer has, or should I say Thickums has, that no other character in the game has, is that his sprint actually benefits him. He gets invulnerability to Chomper's burrow, which you know, he's the only character in the game that gains something for sprinting, so good for you, engineer. The fact that it took this long to get to someone that I would put in the B tier is kind of surprising, because you would think that the majority of them would be in B tier because it's supposed to be like a bell curve. Whatever. Sunflowers, she's got a pretty cute little skip whenever she starts her sprinting animation, which is just adorable every time I see it. She like skips a little bit, turns her face around, and has got this big old smile on her face. But everything else is boring. If it weren't for that little smile and that little skip, she'd probably be C tier for me. But that smile, that skip, it makes my insides just burst with joy. Makes me glow inside. So for that, I'll put her in the mid-range tier, you know. I'll give her some bonus points for making me feel good. Impy boy! Let's see. I think I'm gonna put him in A tier. He's one that I would go back and forth on. Do I want him S tier? Do I want him A tier? Where does he belong? But I think I'm gonna go with A tier. I love his little spin as he goes through the sky, but it honestly makes me a little sick to look at. His spin is a lot worse than Acorn's. It looks like he's gotten like stuck in a washing machine or something and can't get out of it. Like he's like stuck in the spin cycle. Either that or he just like needs his jetpack recalibrated so that he can fly in a straight line rather than making myself and himself sick every time he goes somewhere, because it's, you know, that man's got to have a dizzy look on his face at all times. Next up is our little ninja Nightcap. Let's throw her an A as well. Nightcap, more like Naruto. This little girl, whenever she's sprinting, looks like she's getting ready to go raid Area 51 because of that Naruto run. She's slick, she's sly, and she's absolutely freaking adorable. She's the plant embodiment of Naruto, and her standstill walk into sprinting animation is also just great. And she's got her scarf floating behind her. She's Naruto running. She's a ninja. Watch out, she's hiding in the shadows. Next, we have old buddy Peashooter, and I'd say I'd probably put him in B. He's borderline A tier, because I really do think his animation is neat. He, she, it, whatever you want to call Peashooter, turns his little legs, his little plant legs into wheels and just vrooms forward. That's what he does. It is unique to Peashooter, like that separates him from the rest of the pack. But there's one thing he does that it's copyright infringement. He tries to steal the Naruto run from Nightcap. He puts his little P arms behind him and it just doesn't pull it off as well. He does not pull it off as well, and I have to deduct a lot of points for that. Like, if you just had your little spinning animation and your legs and you did something else with your arms, you'd be up there. But the two don't quite offset each other, so he's a middle of the pack for me. Captain Deadbeard. He tries. He really does give an honest effort. He has a limiting factor that not every other character has, and that's that he only has one leg. He's running around with a wooden plank on his other leg. This does give Mr. Patches McGee, as I like to call him, a little bit of a disadvantage. But he does make me laugh whenever I see him running. He's got a little hobble that he uses to get down the beaten path. Looks like he's got some ants in his pants. You know, he's trying. Can't say the same for 80s All-Star and Chomper, but he's trying. And he can move pretty quick for someone with a wooden leg. You know, that's impressive, right? Rose. Considered one of the best characters in the game, or most annoying characters in the game to play against, is boring. She's the embodiment of boring. She just kind of floats through the air. I wouldn't say that I expect anything different from Rose, just because, you know, if I was a magical being that could float through the air and not have to touch the ground or anything, I totally would. But there's nothing to her animation other than the cape flowing in the wind. But that's it, I guess. There's not much else to say about her. This guy, Mr. Scientist. Now he's a goofy little fella. He looks like he learned that the coronavirus has broken out among all of his zombie brethren. He wants to be the one to save his buddies. He runs with such a sense of urgency then I'm like, okay, you're a man on a mission. I can respect that. He also has fairly decent gun etiquette. He holds it behind him so he's not like pointing it at himself, or he's not necessarily pointing it at anyone. It's kind of like slanted towards the ground. So, you know, good for him. You wouldn't expect a zombie scientist to have that much foresight to not point his gun at other people. He's one that I'd almost put him in A tier, but not quite. If he had a little more going on, you know, cool, but his sense of urgency is pretty cool, and his little, I'm gonna save you guys, is interesting. Snapdragon. He's kind of like Rose in that he just floats along. He's a dragon after all. However, unlike Rose, kind of does the worm as he's flying through the sky. He doesn't just float slowly and boringly. He puts his body in full motion and gives it a really solid effort. Along with that, I really like how the little wings he has on his back flap back and forth. They're so cute, and like it's a good animation, but it's not anything special, nothing to get worked up about, nothing to get excited about. It's not boring me to death. So, points for him. Foot Soldier! Let's see, where does he belong? Let's put him in B tier. I applauded the engineer's ingenuity to ride his jackhammer to get from place to place. So, you would think that I would give the Foot Soldier the same sort of praise since he's able to use his rocket as more than just a way to get high into the air or a way to shoot missiles at the plants. And yeah, it's great that he's been able to get so much use out of that back rocket, but it's just not very creative. Just kind of floats along. I don't think I'm going crazy, but it looks like his feet are like dragging on the floor, dragging on the ground, which you would think someone named Foot Soldier would take better care of his feet. I'm not a doctor though. I'm not Zomboss. I can't really critique it too much, but that's just my preliminary thoughts. Regardless of that, B tier. That's where I'm leaving him. Electric Slide. She's a tricky one. B. Now, if her entire sprinting animation had the same fun factor as her initial oomph whenever she starts getting going, whenever her sprinting animation starts, she'd probably she would probably be S tier. The starting animation where she just loses control is, oh, I love it. It's so much fun. She's so out of control. She's like, oh no, I gotta get my feet under me. Gotta get my feet under me. You would think that she would, you know, have her body ready to balance herself like immediately so she doesn't get thrown out of control, because she literally walks around with these skates on her feet. Like, she has a lot of experience with them, yet every time she takes off sprinting, she gets knocked off balance. Guess not though. Once she gets her feet under her after that initial, she's just kind of boring. Skating across the way. She looks like she'd be great to have as a part of your roller derby team. So I guess she can always do that as a secondary career. Now the last one that's on this list is Mr. Oak. And I'm going to throw him put your back into it tier. You know why? Because the man can't sprint. It's like he's not even trying. He's that guy that, he's eating one too many Big Macs because he can't run at all. He literally can't run. He just sits there and waddles down the battlefield, letting people shoot him. Like, use your brain, Oak. He needs to learn how to run. Point blank simple. And if there was an icon for it, I would also put the space station in here, because it can't sprint either. They're just letting themselves be targets. I don't get it. It seems like the space station would have like boosters installed or something to help them avoid damage. But I guess Dr. Zomboss isn't too worried about the cost of something if his space stations and his space cadets get destroyed. But I guess they're not too expensive to build an old zombie land. But like I said, what do I know? Well, this right here is my list. Like I previously said, my opinion is objectively correct, and anyone who disagrees with it is wrong. Keep that in mind. But I would like to know what you guys think and how you guys would rank all of these, because it's just fun to debate. So thanks for watching, everyone. Peace out, Girl Scout.